This show is brought to you by our partners talkSPORT Bet. New customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Go to talksportbet.com/Inside Devils to claim this offer now.
This has to be a sliding doors moment. But statistically, United have had the most difficult set of fixtures at the start of the season of any team, and they're still right up there in terms of XG.
I do think that performance was far better than any of us expected on Saturday.
We're fast approaching a year under Ruben Amorim, and we're still talking about trying to win 2 consecutive games in a row. One win against Chelsea, and all of a sudden now we're back and we're great and it's this, that and the other. Absolutely not. This team has showed us time and time again that that is not the case. So we have no evidence. We have zero evidence.
Nostalgia will be very, very kind to Bruno Fernandes. I really do. I'm going to go on it. I don't even feel embarrassed about it anymore. I genuinely think that we'll say he's one of the best midfielders we've had.
My ideal thing would be to get it cut at Old Trafford by one of the players. You know, if we're on 4 in a row, then yeah.
Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet, talkSPORT's weekly Man United show, bringing you everything coming out of Old Trafford. We won, we did it, we got 3 points, and much needed 3 points were earned at Old Trafford on Saturday against Chelsea. We were expecting a lot of optimism today. So joining me is, of course, Alex Crook, Angelina Kelly, and Ryan Statman Douglas. Let's get straight into it. Crookie, Bruno Fernandes' strike set us off on our way. Casemiro then adds a second in an event-filled game at Old Trafford with so much going on, from the weather to red cards to goals. It had it all. To the Garnacho return, which he didn't actually return to the pitch, which was also great to see. But how do you see it, Crookie? Because it's a massive win, isn't it, for Ruben Amorim and this Manchester United team. We all have our opinions on what's going on, but the big thing that we all agree on is that we need to win football matches, and that was a big one to win.
Yeah, huge. It was also a history-making first half, the first time in Premier League history that we've seen 2 goals, 2 red cards and 3 substitutions in one half of football. Probably never to be seen again. I thought the Casemiro second yellow was a little bit harsh. We'll probably come on to that. But in terms of what it means for Ruben Amorim, what it means for Manchester United, this has to be a sliding doors moment, because you look at the 2 games they've got now before the international break, and they are winnable. And there have been so many false dawns, not just under Ruben Amorim, but probably for the last decade since Sir Alex Ferguson left, where you think United have turned a corner and then they get slapped in the face. So they've got to back it up now with victory at Brentford and against Sunderland at home as well. If they do that, then I think we're going to be going into that October international break with a lot more optimism than we had going into the one in September. So it could be a massive, massive result, but only if they can back it up in other ways.
Yeah, it's got to be backed up, hasn't it? And for you, I know we can't be picky about the wins we get, but some people are sort of pushing back, saying, listen, is there a little bit of an asterisk over this win? Chelsea down to 10 men, very, very early, different type of game. Like, have we learnt anything more about our team after what we saw on Saturday?
I think we've definitely learned something. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really rate the Chelsea keeper, if I'm being honest, and they've also got about 7, so, they'll be all right. But I just think, even if he hadn't clattered into Mbeumo, there's a very good chance he scores that anyway. Yeah. I think that, you can look at it in some senses and think Enzo Maresca almost set his team up to lose with those bizarre substitutions that I didn't understand. Why are you playing Cole Palmer and then taking him off after 21 minutes when you knew he wasn't 100%? And why you choose to take him off, but you take off Neto first and Estevao as well. Yeah. Those were the 2 key players when you looked at that game that thought, those are the players that are really going to get at Man United. They're pacey, on the wings. And I think it was a massive panic from Maresca. And so, I get that there will be critics and haters maybe saying, he kind of gave it you in that sense. But Man United still put the work in. They still got the win. The conditions were absolutely horrendous. It was a proper Manchester day with that rain. But I think, United still, were... How many times was it Ruben Amorim had used the words that he wanted, like aggression in the press conference. He mentioned it about, like 7 times in a 14-minute press conference. I think that we definitely did see that. I think that we saw a lot of energy. We saw a lot of fight. I agree with Crookie. I think that the Casemiro second yellow was a little bit harsh. If he hadn't have won the ball, I think maybe it's a little bit different. But I don't think that there was like intent to cause harm in that. It was just a little bit foolish. And I think sometimes with referees, when you go down to 10 players so early on, they're almost looking to kind of find a way to level it, I think. And I think that was a perfect opportunity for the referee to do that. And I did feel a little bit bad for Casemiro. Garnacho not playing was quite funny. Did you guys see that Lenny Euro thing?
I did see that.
When he was walking and he bumped into him, but it didn't seem funny.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a lot of criticism about, the fans not welcoming Garnacho. Why would he? He's not earned the right to be considered a Man United great. So, you're going to get booed. If you're going to post on Instagram, you're going to get booed. I'm sorry, Ryan, but...
No, I'm with you.
It's one of those. And
part of the enemy now, Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't care about him.
That's it now.
Forget about him. I think there were a lot of positives to take from it. And I agree with Crookie, a real sliding doors moment. This was the game. I was very nervous going into this because had we have lost the game and lost it badly, especially... the future just felt very, very up in the air. So I think in order to settle the nerves, it was a big one. And obviously I wasn't at the game, I was watching, but it sounded like the fans were absolutely amazing as always. And I think as Ruben Amorim kind of touches on sometimes, they almost don't deserve the fans that they've got.
Ryan, you were calling for calm, wasn't you?
Yeah.
After last week. We were well beaten by City in a really bad derby performance. But, Crookie touched on it a little bit ago. Could this be the beginning of the turnaround? Could this be the sliding doors moment? You look at going up against 17th place Brentford next in the league. Then after that, a favourable, inverted quotes, game against Sunderland at home going into international break, which would be, if we did do that, even in the Brentford game, we're then going into territory that we haven't done before under Ruben Amorim. Back-to-back games, let alone maybe 3 games in a row if we dare to dream.
Yeah.
So is that fair to say that would be a start of a turnaround?
It's definitely a positive and it's definitely a progression. Like I said, like you mentioned it last week, it was really easy to catastrophise after 4 league games, especially with the manner of that Manchester City defeat. But 4 league games and now we're at 5 and we played Chelsea and we played Arsenal, we played Manchester City and we've got 2 wins and a draw in there. All of a sudden, it doesn't seem as bad as it would last week, and that's just football. Let's say we win the next 3 games, right? Let's say we do that. We're not back. Manchester United aren't back. So, yes, it's progression and yes, it's a positive, but there's still going to be up and downs in a season where, let's be honest, he's still developing this system, his philosophies and establishing a foundation. So it would be fantastic. And I mean, with the Chelsea game in isolation, if you'd have offered me 3 points before the game, I wouldn't have said, how do we get them? I'd have said, yes, let's do 3 points. I want it. Yeah, I don't care. So it's good in that respect. But we do have to be realistic that they were down to 10 men when we scored both of those goals. And when it was all square on the field, Chelsea won that second half 1-0, when we had the same amount of people on the field. So there's takings that you can take, and we're happy we got the 3 points, and we're still creating loads of chances. But I really am looking at this early kickoff on Saturday against Brentford as, right, OK, now we've got a little bit of momentum and a bit of bragging rights against Chelsea now. What can we do? So I think that game is more important than the Chelsea result. But 3 points is 3 points, man.
Yeah, I mean, we've been here before, haven't we, Crookie? And the reason why we've been here before is because we still haven't won back-to-back games under Ruben Amorim. That's something that is this thing we always keep talking about. It's so normal for every other, decent team to win 2 games in a row. It's not a big ask, is it? Win a couple of games in a row. But we struggle to do that. And it's about trying to move on from that point, isn't it? To put a run of games together, to show some form of consistency so we can start moving away from the negativity. Does it feel to you that this could be that time? When you look at those next 2 games, is it I say a given, but is it an absolute must that Man United, they have to be getting 6 points? They have to be.
Yeah, they do. No question about that in my mind. And as you say, back-to-back wins have been hard to come by. Just ask the fella who hasn't cut his hair. I mean, he's looking for 5 victories in a row. We'd all take 2 or 3 at this moment. We're going to be
speaking to him a little bit later in the show as well, if his hair will fit in the box, in the screen.
And it isn't a massive surprise that United have performed better against Chelsea. And I sort of agree with Angelina. The reason that Chelsea was so shell-shocked and making those mistakes early on was because we did come out the traps quickly. But that's what we tend to do in the big games. Even in the Manchester derby in that first half, it wasn't a terrible performance. This is a group of players who tend to reserve their better displays against the top opposition, decent against Arsenal on the opening day as well. There's countless examples of matches against the so-called Big Six where United have turned up, and countless examples in games where you think they're going to put on in a performance that they haven't. So I think it's a test of the new players, that the new mentality that Amorim is trying to instill in the dressing room, how they back this up or don't against Brentford next weekend. I did see a stat, actually. I feel like I'm nicking Ryan's job here. but statistically, United have had the most difficult set of fixtures at the start of the season of any team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
They're still right up there in terms of XG. So I think if you're looking for reasons to back the manager and the board don't want to make a change, then the numbers are there to back up that actually progress is being made.
That's an interesting one about this progress situation, actually, because I've seen the stats like Crook is alluding to, and people sort of suggesting, look, as it stands, I think we're level on points with Man City. We're a point behind Chelsea, I believe, and maybe a couple of
We
our
were actually 10th
Arsenal.
at one point. How exciting was that?
Exactly, record highs, right? Record highs. But when you contextualise it how early it is in the season, is there grounds to be more positive? And like we're saying, when Ryan was here last week saying, guys, listen, let's calm down. When there's a lot of fans saying you can't be getting rid of the manager yet, you can't be questioning him now, just calm down. We're really early in the season. We can still stabilise. Is this what we're seeing?
Yeah, and I tend to agree that we do need to let this play out a little bit longer because, you faced Arsenal, City and Chelsea in the first couple of games. Like, that is a lot. And I think, like I said last week, the Arsenal game was close and we walked away from that feeling like at least it was a good performance. Obviously, the Fulham game as well, I think that was a little bit unlucky. And you also look ahead, we've got Liverpool coming up, and as much as, they have got so much talent and they look amazing on paper, I don't think they've been that convincing, if I'm being completely honest. I think that they've been very lucky in some senses, beating Newcastle, who were down to 10 players. The Burnley situation was thanks to one of our former players, Hannibal, had it not been that. So, listen, I'm not saying that Man United are going to come out and beat Liverpool 3-0 or something like that, but you look at last season and how we managed to get something and put in a good performance. You look at the way that they've been, they're there for the taking a little bit, in my opinion. Obviously, we've still got a couple of games before we face them, and maybe things will start to click with them a little bit more. But I just think overall, we have to, take a breath, look at things from maybe a different perspective now, in that we've had... the Fulham game, we started really strong. The Arsenal game, I think we started quite well. This game, we started well. It's just about building now. And, you can talk about how United are winning games. You can say that, like what I alluded to earlier, that maybe Enzo Maresca kind of helped us out with some of his panic decisions in that game. But we're getting wins. Well, we've got to win.
That's what I'm saying. We've got a win. This is what we've got to remember. It's one.
But that is the main thing, though. It is a win. It's a starting point, and you've just got to get the wins, no matter which way you get them, and that's got to be the focus. And I think Amorim touched on it by saying, this is great, but we need to focus now, and we need to continue being more aggressive, and we need to focus on how we're going to win this next game and keep this momentum going. So we have been burnt before, but I do think that performance was far better than any of us expected on Saturday.
Yeah. For me, I'm there. We can't really be trying to look too far forward at this game, that game. Tell you what, it's a sliding doors moment. It's this, it's that. No, we're fast approaching a year under Ruben Amorim, and we're still talking about trying to win 2 consecutive games in a row. So that shows me that we shouldn't be having any conversations about past Brentford. It is about just win at all costs.
Yeah.
You can talk about the style, you can talk about the situations that's been going on with Ruben and this, that and the other, but you have to win football matches. And I'm not going to see one win against Chelsea and all of a sudden now we're back and we're great and it's this, that and the other. Absolutely not. This team has showed us time and time again that is not the case. So we have no evidence. We have zero evidence to base anything off that we're now going to go on a run. I hope we do. I'm feeling kind of confident for Brentford, but I've done that before. Ryan, Bruno Fernandes. 100th goal for the club.
I love him, man.
Big performance, even in his deeper role. Is this a sign? Well, firstly, what do you make about that?
Yeah.
Him getting to 100 goals,
Yeah.
you know, as a player for this club. And secondly, again, is this why Ruben Amorim maybe isn't getting it all wrong?
It's so it's so difficult with Bruno because I love him in the 10. I love him in the 10, and it's quite clear to see that this midfield role isn't his best strong suit. However, what we all have to be, again, we talk about patience with the manager. We have to be patient with Bruno. The one thing I do, I get when people say, Amorim out. Like I said, I understood that, especially with that loss to Grimsby and then that, you know, the Manchester City pummeling. I get the Amorim out stuff. Anyone criticising Bruno, especially in the new position right now, I just think, what are you doing? That's 100 goals from a midfielder. There's not been a lot of midfielders for Manchester United that have got 100 goals. In the amount of games that Bruno's done it as well, we haven't seen it. He's been unbelievable. And we have to be patient with the manager, right? And we have to be patient with Bruno, who is learning this new role himself at the stage of the career that he is in. We have to be patient with him because he's having to learn to look over his shoulder. He lets his runners go sometimes. Of course he does. Of course he does, because he's having to learn this position. Now, there'll be people that argue, well, just get someone in who can do the position. But obviously, Amorim sees something in Bruno where he thinks he can operate and he can do this in the middle of the park. And I think he's done enough for the club to get a bit of patience, to earn a bit of time. So, I've got a lot of patience with him, and I think he's unbelievable. And I think nostalgia will be very, very kind to Bruno Fernandes. I really do. I think that when he hangs up his boots, when he doesn't wear a Manchester United shirt anymore, we will look back at him. And I genuinely believe, I'm going to go on it, I don't even feel embarrassed about it anymore. I genuinely think that we'll say he's one of the best midfielders we've had in recent times, especially in the Premier League era. I really believe that. He's such a diamond. He's such a good player. And I'm just so happy for him to get his 100th goal.
Well, to get these type of numbers in this type of team, Ange, in this version of Manchester United since he's been there, utter chaos, low standards, poor recruitment, ownership problem. The list goes on with what Bruno's had to be around, and he finds a way to keep delivering. Even now in this sort of new setup, like what Ryan just alluded to there, of him having to play out of position or in a new position that doesn't exactly, play to his strengths, he finds a way consistently. And he deserves all the plaudits, right?
Yeah, 100%. And there was actually an article in The Athletic about these 100 goals. And just over 50% of them have either been outright winners or have put Man United ahead in games.
Man,
that's another. She's dropped a big one there.
I know.
That's incredible stuff.
51 out of the 100.
Wow.
So it's 30 have put United ahead, 21 have been outright winners. So I think that says it all, doesn't it? That he has been so instrumental. You don't even want to think about where United would be without a player like Bruno Fernandes. He gets a lot of stick. People, outsiders looking in, question if he should be a captain, question his mentality, question all these things. I think we hear about some of the stuff that he does off the pitch, helping members of staff, trying to fund things for members of staff to go to FA Cup final days. I know that when he does have spare time, he likes to try and watch the academy players, try and support the women's team, etc. So, and that's only the stuff that we hear about. There will be a lot of other stuff as well. So I just think overall, he deserves so much praise. He's obviously the best signing post-Fergie that we've had. That goes without saying. But I agree with Ryan. I think, especially the Premier League era, he goes down as 100% one of the greats. So now I'm really happy for him. And, he deserves it. And that stat says it all, that he's dug United out of some holes.
He's so good. He's so good for us. He's so good for it. So good for the club as a whole. Like what you've just said there. I feel so passionately about it, off the field and on the field. And people who get annoyed at his petulance because he throws it. He's doing it on the bench.
How many football players do that?
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? He's not like he's the only one that does it. We see it time and time again from numerous other Premier League footballers.
Exactly.
He's just an easy target for it, and it's just an easy thing for people to jab at him about. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, for you, Crookie, is it more of a bigger question is to actually, what could Bruno have achieved in his career if he didn't pledge this allegiance at this stage of his career to Man United? I mean, listen, I'm glad he's our player and has been, but, if he played for Pep Guardiola in these last 6 years, or if he played for Barcelona, or if he played for Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, you know, the titles that he would have had to his name would have been
He'd have been in a Ballon d'Or shortlist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd be talking about him as one of the best midfielders in Europe. And again, if you want to be even more nostalgic, how would he fare in a Sir Alex Ferguson team, Bruno Fernandes? Because I think part of the reason that he gets so frustrated, part of the reason people question his captaincy credentials because of the sort of histrionics that we see, is because of the calibre of players and the lack of effort from certain players around him. So, listen, captains can lead in different ways, and I'll come back to the story. Ruben van Nistelrooy's first game in charge against Leicester in the League Cup, midweek, most of the United players just walked past the autograph hunters waiting at the mouth of the Munich tunnel. Marcus Rashford, for one, just put his head down, didn't even acknowledge the fans. Bruno Fernandes spent an eternity signing autographs, posing for pictures, including for my kids. That's leadership. And actually, Ruben Amorim has been praised for doing the same after games. He was there in the sodden rain. Sure, he just wanted to get home, but several hours after full time on Saturday night, because he realises the importance of connecting with fans as well. I think what's interesting is I can't think of a single teammate of Bruno Fernandes that has ever questioned his leadership or his ability. And I think that says it all.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. And I've always said Bruno is this narrative that he's one of the problems at Man United. I think playing him in this position can be problematic for us. I do still believe that, even after what I saw against Chelsea. But like Ryan said, I don't believe that's his fault. I think that's the manager deciding to play this type of way is going to hurt Bruno. But he's still going to find ways to put numbers on the board because he's just a top player. It doesn't matter what's going on. He'll have bad games. He was, really terrible in the derby. He was really terrible against Fulham, wasn't he? Missed the penalty, petulant. Yeah. Gave the ball away. You're not going to be perfect every single game, but when it's all said and done, he's the main man for me, and I've always thought and will continue to think it. So I share what you guys say on that. Just back to the game and some of the other talking points. I want to talk about Benjamin Sesko, guys, because unlucky to be taken off.
Yeah.
In the circumstances, that should have been a game where you go, right, can he get his first goal now? It's 11 against 10. We're 2-0 up. Tell you what, Benjamin, let's get him the ball, etc., etc. But Rio Ferdinand suggested that Sesko needs to make it clear to players that he's not happy with the service. He sort of said Rude once walked off the training pitch. Look, I'm not saying that he does that, but where are we at, Ryan, with Benjamin Sesko at the minute?
Yeah.
A good flick on, actually, in the passage of play that led up to Brian and Bruno getting in on goal. But then after that, he's still just like the team just don't include him much in what's going on.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of put your finger on what's going on.
It is really, really difficult. Sesko right now, I think, is the epitome of... He's led me to a conclusion that is, I think a lot of strikers would struggle in this current Manchester United setup, because even when they're getting to the bylines and stuff, they're not sticking it up for him, which is, we've seen what his aerial ability is like, and that's just not happening now. It's horrible, isn't it? But I think it's just going to take time. You've got, when Cunha's fit, you've got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo, you've got Sesko. They've never played together before. So these things are going to take time to gel about how he wants to play and how he likes to be served. But we like you said, we saw with that Mbeumo goal, he can get the heights and he can flick it on. And if you've got the 2 10s that are running in behind him, that is the epitome of how that system can work. And it was case in point. And like Ange said earlier, if the keeper doesn't take him down, then Mbeumo probably puts that away. So I think there's value in him, and we have to give him time, kind of like we did with Højlund. But we saw Højlund play for Napoli and get off the mark like that, you know what I mean? And a smile back on his face. So it's going to take time, but there's definitely value to be had. I kind of agree with what Rio says, but I don't doubt it's going to be in the training, training sessions and stuff. This is how I like to play. This is stick the ball in the air for me. I'm going to peel away to the back post, whatever it is. Those little nuances. It's just going to take time, and rival fan bases are going to get onto him. Of course they are, but we have to be patient and hold our nerve with him, because but by all accounts, he could be the right man for the job. Yeah,
it just needs time, doesn't it? And patience for you. I mean, are you still very confident that we've got the right kid here, and he just needs to be looked after, doesn't he? He just needs to be allowed to grow.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you can look at not just strikers, but you can look at quite a couple of players in the Premier League that are struggling at the moment. Everyone's talking about this. Gyökeres, to be completely honest. I know that he has found the back of the net, but he doesn't look amazing. And speaking to Arsenal fans, I'm sure they all are confident that he will get there. But we're seeing him struggle, who, was a fantastic goal scorer in Portugal. So I think with Sesko, you've got to give it time. I understand that everybody's going to, everyone's got PTSD from Rasmus Højlund and co from before. But I think you just have to give the lad a little bit of time. The thing is, I will say, and I think there's going to be a lot of Gyökeres-Sesko comparisons. He looks more like a striker than Gyökeres, in my opinion, even just in like his physical build. And that's not me trying to, shame Gyökeres or anything like that. I know he's got a lot of stick, but I just think he looks like a striker. It looks like he's slowly but surely getting there. It is just going to take time. People have just got to be patient. You can't expect. And I think there was a conversation. Was it Kevin Hatchard who made the point? I'm not too sure, I can't remember, but someone saying, I think it was Kev, that this is not the striker that you sign when you want to win the Premier League this season. This is the type of striker that you sign when you are building towards something. And I know we're all frustrated with building and, we all question the build and the process and the system and all that type of stuff. But that is what he is. He's a player that's going to take a little bit of time. And unfortunately, you've got to be patient.
Right, now, after a big win at the weekend, we're going to have to check in with the famous United fan that won't cut his hair until we win 5 games in a row. Yeah, just 5. So with just 4 more big performances to go, let's welcome in Frank, also known as the United Strand. I could see you there, Frank, and I was worried that basically was going to bring you into vision and, it's getting a bit close. There wasn't basically going to be enough sort of screen space for you to fit in with the hair.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, you've had that problem a few times.
First of all, a bit of space from one of your panels.
How are you dealing with the hair? How are you managing it, mate, on a day to day? Because we see you on all of these platforms. We keep seeing you. I feel like I see you every single day now at various different places across the internet. But when the camera's off and you're just in your day-to-day life, mate, how are you managing it?
Yes, everything just takes so long. That's the biggest thing, really. It's just like, the washing and the drying, the brushing out a little bit, and everything is just, everything is very time consuming.
You're honestly that. It just gets so big and thick, and honestly, it's
looks
brilliant.
Great.
It does.
You're rocking it.
If anything, Frank, we might get 5 games, and Frank might go quite like this, though. Actually, to be fair, so imagine that. Frank, you was at the game on Saturday at Old Trafford. Did you see any major improvements? What was your takeaway from the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the red card helped at the start. But I felt like we did look pretty positive. There were some good chances. I heard you just talking about Mbeumo a minute ago. I think he's amazing. I think he's actually, after Fernandes, I think he's going to end up being the next best signing after Sir Alex.
Oh, big shout. Big shout.
I really think that, just in every game, like you were talking about, even in the Man City game that we got beaten, he's still, had moments. So, I think that there were enough positives. Obviously, there's still a lot to improve on. And we've got to, just kind of take it step by step. But, a win's a win. Let's focus on that.
Frank, think about you and your situation right now. We've been previewing the next couple of weeks. We've got Brentford early kickoff. Then we've got Sunderland. Is there in the back of your mind, are you thinking, look, I'm going to go into this international break 3 games down out of 5? Do you have hope that we can string back-to-back wins on the back of that Chelsea performance?
I feel like this is the best opportunity to do it. No disrespect to Brentford and Sunderland, but we should be winning those games, let's be honest, So, I'm very hopeful that we'll be at 3 out of 5. I mean, after the international break, it is Liverpool at Anfield.
I know. That's the one you're looking at thinking, that could spoil it. That could spoil it. But you never know, man. You never know.
Yeah. We have to believe that we can do something. The only thing is, someone was saying to me the other day, I didn't realise how long it was. I can't remember when, but the last time we actually won at Anfield was longer than I even want to remember.
Was it one matter? Last time?
I think we might have even had one after that. Was it Rooney? And one. I think we might have got one after the one field.
It was a while ago.
But anyway. It's definitely been a while. Since becoming a famous fan, Frank, what's the maddest thing that's happened to you now? Like, have you met any of the players? When you're seeing people in the street, or are some people just completely?
DMs,
yeah, exactly. What's the DMs looking like now? Yeah, what's happening?
I mean, this itself is pretty crazy, like, and just in terms of everything, like seeing people, as a Man United fan myself, like, all the kind of platforms, including this, and, the United Stand, Stretford Paddock and people like that, like, and just being here is just ridiculous, really. And like I've said before, I never expected any of this. It was purely just a bit of fun to start with, and I thought that I thought it would go on for a few months and then it would all be over, but here we are. So I haven't had any direct contact with any current players or anything. There's a couple of ex-players that have at least one that has followed me and things like that, and but yeah,
Can you say who?
Wes Brown.
Go on, Wes. Go on, Wes.
Love that.
Go on, Wes. Yeah, that's not bad.
But in terms of the current squad and stuff, I think that it is a bit difficult for them to kind of be seen to be interacting with me, maybe because, at the state of this, they can see it's a very visual representation of how it's going on the pitch.
So true.
Really, isn't it?
That's a good point. They need to feel personally. It's not just 3 points and the fans they're fighting for anymore. It's your hair as well, man. There's an extra layer.
Well, I think that's why they won the other day, because I was at the match. So they must have had that extra fight in them.
It is actually interesting you say that, because I've thought about that for you, about what it looks like with the current squad, because if our squad engages or our club engages too much with you at this point, like you said, it's bad. But I've also thought about when we do get the 5,
it's got to be cut at Old Trafford.
I mean, he should be on the centre circle, and they should sort of say, "Hey, Frank, we saw you the whole way. Glad you." There should be that sliding doors moment of maybe that, because I get it. Right now, it's we're losing to City. You can't be going, "Oh, sorry, Frank," or this, that, and we've got to kind of stay away from that. But have you? Look. You probably,
players should cut your hair.
Yeah, that'd
Bruno,
be amazing.
There we go.
Duty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The club's got to do something special. And I mean, you might not want to give this away, but I have to ask you anyway. Have you thought about what that looks like when we do win 5? Will you just pop up on Instagram saying, day 9,000, I finally cut it. Look, I'm completely bald. Or is there, I'm probably sure there's so many people that have probably put loads of proposals to you about what this actually looks like.
Yeah, so it's not, there's nothing concrete yet. It's still kind of, there are a few talks, but exactly what you were saying. My ideal thing would be to get it cut at Old Trafford by one of the players. And I'm hopeful that, like you were saying, I completely understand why they haven't been in contact with me. I completely get that. But I'm hoping that, once there's maybe a bit more of a positive vibe around results and things like that, if we're on 4 in a row, then hopefully they might feel like they're in a place to kind of sort that out for me.
That'd be great. They should just give them all like one swipe. So the whole squad's in a queue. One swipe.
The issue is that some of those players have terrible haircuts, I must be honest. But would you go like completely bald, or just like short back and sides, or just a little trim? Like, how drastic will it be when you do cut it?
So first things first is I'm planning to donate my hair to the Little Princess Trust at the end.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So the fundraising page is justgiving.com/page/the United Strand. So I'm planning to do that, and actually that might actually work well in terms of, because you have to put it into bunches and then cut the bunches off.
So a player per bunch.
So maybe like several players could do a bunch each or something like that.
That's brilliant.
I like that.
But then I think the plan is to probably after that just buzz cut to start with, and we'll go from there.
Because I was thinking you go, completely drastic back the other way. Complete skin, bald, gone. Everything has gone.
Pretty much.
Eyebrows a lot.
And then start again and then say, not cutting my hair until Man United win the Premier League. And we'll see how far that can go for.
We'll see how the form is at that point.
Just quickly, Frank, who was your man of the match on Saturday afternoon?
Do you know what? I actually always find it difficult when I'm at a match to fully focus because I'm like, in the moment and stuff. But I was having a conversation while coming out, and I think I said De Ligt at the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was going to ask you about De Ligt actually, because Bruno's just reached 100 goals. There hasn't been a lot of positives, as we know, but De Ligt is really starting to come into his own. And for what, 38 million pounds? I'm not going to say he's a bargain, but he's a vastly experienced player from a young age, and he's looking like a proper defender now in a Man United shirt, isn't he?
And he's doing that. He's doing that role that Ruben Amorim wants at least one of his three centre-backs to do. He's coming into midfield, and really that is helping with the balance of the system. I think he's been brilliant, De Ligt, so far over the course of the season, touch wood.
Yeah, no, he has been great, and absolutely a good signing, and bargain really when you think about it in this day and age with transfer fees and stuff, with the experience he's had and the other clubs he's played at, and he's still young. It's like unbelievable the career he's had already. And I think that he's going to be play an important role going into the future. He's
definitely someone. I mean, look, we'll see what happens with Bruno. We know he was ever so close to going to Saudi this year, last summer, sorry. We'll see what happens as it goes, but he's definitely someone you could see leading.
Well, it's weird because he's not in the leadership team apparently, which I found a little bit strange considering he was made captain at 19.
Yeah.
He does give you that leadership vibe.
He's
agree.
done it. Yeah, he's been a captain in his career from a very young age. Frank, listen, always a pleasure to catch up and see how you're getting on a personal. I mean, we can see from afar because we see you literally every single day on some platform or another. But keep it going, mate, and we're all going to be tuning in when we get that fifth. Mate, when it gets to 4, oh my God,
the nerves.
Everyone's just going to be
like a Champions League final.
Yeah, exactly. So thanks for joining us, mate, and we'll speak again very, very soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
United Strand there, keeping us up to date with what's going on with his Barnet. It's been absolutely ridiculous. Marcus Rashford, let's talk about him because he won Player of the Match for Barcelona against Newcastle last week in the Champions League with a stunning brace at St James's Park. It sparked a lot of debate amongst United fans. Does it fill you with positivity that he is finding his form again? There was also, a clip of Scholesy, Paul Scholes, Crookie, sort of suggesting that he, I'm paraphrasing, but he struggles to be happy for him. Some of the things I remember him saying was sort of he thought his behaviour was a disgrace. He was walking, etc. Nicky Butt sort of puts a different case of that. He has actually got all the ingredients to be a top player. Scholes pushes back and says, well, he just won't have the mentality. But we also saw, like I said, what he did at St James's Park, silenced the whole stadium. 2 really, really top goals. For one of the best teams in Europe, which was in a tight, close-knit game that needed some unlocking, and it was Marcus Rashford at the double.
Well, I think the past week has probably encapsulated the beauty and the beast when it comes to Marcus Rashford. As you say, a brilliant performance up at St James's Park. The second goal in particular was one that few players in the world can score. And I've said it numerous times, Marcus Rashford, for me, has all the raw ability to be one of the very best players. And that's why it's so sad the way that his Manchester United career panned out. He should have been a poster boy for that academy. He's a lifelong Manchester United supporter. And the fact that he looked so unhappy and that he was putting in such minimal effort, as Paul Scholes has alluded to, towards the end of his career, I think is massively frustrating. But then he goes back to Spain. He's late for a team meeting, not for the first time in his career. And Hansi Flick, who's really clamped down on that since I think it was a problem with the German team when he was in charge there during that debacle of a World Cup, drops him. And obviously Ferran Torres comes in and does very well. And therein lies the problem. And I said it when I was on talkSPORT with Troy Deeney and Sam Matterface the day after the Newcastle game. He's more than capable of producing those match-winning moments, but he's equally capable of producing something like this, whereby he puts himself in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. The fact it only took a few days, I think, again, just tells you that leopards don't change their spots and that, unfortunately, Manchester United as a football club are better off without him. And I don't take any pleasure in saying that because, as I say, I think he's got so much talent. I was at the World Cup in Qatar when he scored that free kick. And I was so happy for him, so happy for my lad who remains Marcus Rashford's most devoted fan. But I find it really sad, the fact that he doesn't have the application and the attitude to match that God-given talent.
Is it just a blip, Ryan? Another blip? Listen, he's not a kid anymore. He is 27, I think. So we're not talking about a young player trying to find his feet. He's an established pro who's played hundreds of games and scored a lot of goals. Is it just this change of scenery was needed, or could there be, a reignition of his Man United career? Right?
The more I think about this move to Barcelona, to be honest with you, the more I think just how good this could be for him. Because I mean, late is late. But I heard it was only 2 minutes. I don't know, Crookie, you might know more than me.
Doesn't matter. Does it? He's been there before.
I know. That's why I said late is late.
Ten Hag.
Late is late. But that's why I think this move could be so good for him, because 2 minutes is 2 minutes and you need to be there on time. And, albeit it's still late in his career and he should know this, it's something that it looks like he has to learn. So this move, the fact that he got the Barcelona move in the first place is like, wow, fair enough, fair play to you. But things like this and clamping down on his behaviour could be really good for him. Him performing against Newcastle at St James's Park, a stadium that he knows, and scoring 2 fantastic goals doesn't shock me in the slightest. I don't think it shocks anybody on this panel because we know that capability. It's like, good for him. I don't have any ill feeling towards Rashford. That's why the Scholesy comments, and I've said this before about former Man United players, right? They will go in. They will go in on the current crop if they're not pulling their weight. And we're going to hear it more and more and more because I believe that was a podcast. So, look, this is going to be weekly now that we hear these opinions. And as I envision, that would be the case. So, but going back to Rashford, we know he's got that capability, and it's not like we didn't give him a chance. He was on the side of Old Trafford for years and years and years. He was a poster boy for a long time, but it just didn't work out, and it got to the stage where Man United wasn't good for him, and he wasn't good for Man United. So I can't see him coming back. I don't think there's a way of him coming back into this Manchester United crop of players, but it could, if he gets his act together, kickstart afterwards. I don't think he'll stay at Barca either, but another move somewhere else, a permanent move somewhere else, that could be good for him.
What do you make of it, Ange? Immediately before the news broke that he'd missed training by a couple of minutes the following day or days after. But the next day, and even whilst it was happening, you go online, it's Ruben Amorim, you custard pie, mate. You're trying to get rid of Rashford. Look at that. He's in the Champions League, banging in 2 at St James's Park, mate. Meanwhile, you're languishing where you are in the table, haven't got back-to-back wins, another poor decision by the manager. United is the problem. When people leave Manchester United, when players leave, they start to express themselves in my group chats, all my Liverpool mates and, Arsenal mates. You're getting it all. But when we talk about it as United fans, how do you feel about the criticism that Marcus is getting whilst he's on loan for this reason, but also with what you saw during midweek with an amazing performance, especially second half anyway, against Newcastle United in Champions League?
It's a really tough one because I'm happy for Marcus Rashford because, as we've all said, we are aware of what he is capable of. He is a fantastic player on his day. For whatever reason, it has not worked out with Manchester United, and that is very, very sad. And I don't think Marcus Rashford saw it ending this way, and I don't think we did. Yes, he is only on loan. I don't think that there's a way back with Ruben Amorim. I think it would be very difficult. Ruben Amorim's spoken about, even changing his system. He feels like he would lose the respect of the players. So bringing Rashford in after all that's gone on, I don't see it happening. I want his stock to rise because from a selfish point of view, as looking at Manchester United, the football club, this is pure profit, whatever we get for him when he eventually, departs completely. So let his stock rise. Let him score all the goals for Barcelona. Let him help them win the Champions League. Whatever it takes. And I don't think that you can look at it and think that, it's Man United, because at the end of the day, we all know that it was, it takes 2 to tango. Maybe Manchester United wasn't the right place. Maybe he didn't fit the system, whatever. But we also know that he didn't apply himself. And we also know that, we see the reports. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but we see the reports of him, going to Ireland on a bit of a jolly. We see that he's out in Manchester partying. So I don't think you can sit and blame Manchester United completely because we all know that he didn't apply himself. I think that, you know, the former players coming out and criticising him. I mean, Paul Scholes, Crookie, you might remember this because, sorry, you're a bit older than me, but didn't Paul Scholes refuse to play? Was it the Worthington Cup or something back in the early noughties? He refused to play and got fined 2 weeks' wages. So I think for Paul Scholes, you know, remember, you weren't a complete angel yourself.
Well, he said once you quit on United, you'll quit again, is what he said.
He refused to play, though. I'm not coming out and, you know, defending Marcus Rashford completely, because we all know I've had my opinion on it.
Fair context,
but I just think that, you know, these former players, they weren't angels themselves. They made mistakes. And I think that someone like Paul Scholes should be looking at it and saying, listen, I made these mistakes and I look back at it and I maybe regret it, and maybe I shouldn't have acted like that. So when you're looking at Marcus Rashford, he feels maybe, oh, you know, I've been there, don't do that. And I know that you know, it wasn't the same thing, but I just think with some of the former players, and I know, Ryan, you've, you know, had really strong opinions on it as well, I just think I just don't see the point in really hammering him. And also, I think they were talking about, like, oh, his demeanour towards the end. We didn't see him. So I don't know how Paul Scholes, like, oh, it was the look on his face or whatever he was kind of alluding to, that it's all about his demeanour. He didn't play, so we didn't see him. So I just think sometimes it is a little bit of a reach, and I agree with a lot of the sentiments around Marcus Rashford and the issues, but I just think let it go.
There's a lot of statements that can be true at the same time. Marcus, you know, has got to make good decisions for himself as a professional, as a top pro that he can be, with the ability that he actually possesses to unlock himself on a consistent basis. But at the same time, you want to be in an environment that helps you do that. And we have a track record of having a bad environment, as there are many players that have now left to play at a higher level, enjoying their footballs and have smiles on his face. And when he was doing his post-match stuff for TNT, you know, just listening to him talk, I haven't seen him speak like that in ages. How refreshing it was to hear him say, I'm enjoying my football, a good coach who really believes in me, and this, that, and the third. And you see what he did at Newcastle United. That's the type of player that is in there. And then a couple of days later, he's been a couple of minutes late to training. You go, Marcus,
for the record, he's not the only one that has done that. I know, 100%. I agree with Crookie, late is late, but I think Rafinha's had it. There are a couple of players.
It happens.
It's not just
and he'll
him.
be back. They'll nip it in the bud. They'll nip it in the bud, and he'll be back in the team for the next game, etc., etc. And can he learn from it? It just looks, it's bad optically in that moment when you've got a lot of people, let's be honest, essentially waiting for him to go to Barcelona and fail. So you go, right, okay, brilliant. I was always in the camp. Remember very early, he's going to leave Man United. He's going to do fine at Barcelona. He'll be back in that England team, and all of that has pretty much happened so far. But you also get the caveat of what we've just seen. So listen, I want Marcus Rashford to do well. And everybody go their separate ways. Right. Okay, that's all we've got time for on this week's episode of Inside Devils. A big thank you to Alex Crook, to Angelina Kelly, and of course, Ryan Statman Douglas and United Strand himself with his big hair. We'll see you on the next episode after another win. Back-to-back wins, yes, against Brentford. That is what is coming next. Back-to-back wins. See you then.